Hello everyone and welcome back to Enshrouded. Today I want to do my building tutorial in a different format, so I will record the live stream and later on I will cut all the contents and publish it on YouTube afterwards. So I have a lot of topics to cover and I will begin with some basics on building, planning, etc. Then we go into the tools and materials and techniques I used, and also how I build specific things inside this castle. And then also like global thoughts about orientation, where you will record pictures later on, etc. to take into account how the world is built. And then we will also see how you can mix different materials and what techniques I used to traverse when I was building. So here we are in the castle, so let's go outside. Yeah, I want to show you something. I don't know if you have seen my latest video with the pixel art. This is where we are heading to now, because I prepared kind of tutorial area. So let's go over there. This is my latest video, the Enshrouded title, which I used for the nice time lapse. And also here we will begin our tutorial. First of all, Enshrouded is a voxel-based game. What does this mean? If you are not familiar with the terms, a voxel is basically a 3D pixel. So if you're painting or something, you do it on a canvas or a paper, which is 2D in two directions. You can move your pen and then you have a line or something. And it's almost the same in a voxel-based game, but you have a third dimension, which is the depth, and you have different tools. And the tools which he gave to us are basically the construction hammer, building mode. So if you enter the building mode, you have different shapes and styles. And to build successfully, you have to understand all the tools. And I will make it quick, but I will cover some of the most important things here. So before we go into the tools, there's also a grid system inside Enshrouded, which is based on 8x8 blocks. This is the basic measurement in which everything is counted. You can see this on the tools here. We have the 4-meter tools, which is the biggest box. Let me get another material here. Yeah, I will use regular stone. So if you place something inside the world, you always have this snapping kind of thing, which is turned on by default. You can see it also on your cursor. There's a white dot, and then there's a blue rectangle around it. This means you are on the global snap. So all your building parts will snap to the global grid. You can see it if you look around, and if you push or pull the stuff with Q and mouse wheel, then you can see it's always snapping to this grid. So if I place something, the next part will always snap to the previous part, no matter what I do. You see, you can... Yeah, okay, I just altered the... Yeah, here you can see it. It's always snapping. You can also remove building parts with right-click. I mean, it's obvious, it's on the screen, but there's something important which I will cover later on. So this is the global grid snapping. Then we have the next iteration, which is divided by times 2, so it's 4. this is the next smaller part. Let's take the half wall here. As you can see, it's also snapping, depends on where you're looking at. Then we have the next parts, which are basically down to voxel size. So a 1x1 square or cube in this case. And this 1x1 is basically one voxel. Or as you can say also, this is one 3D pixel. And this is what this title is made of. Thousands of 3D pixels. But on a 2D plane, because every voxel is in one line, even if it looks more, but this is something I will cover later, because some voxels are 1x1, but they look wider or deeper or something. And this is what I use to get this structural feeling. Okay, so these are voxels, and we have another type of material which is not the building parts, but ground types, so soil and dirt, etc. I've placed a line here so you can see it better, because soil voxels are much smaller, but they also take up one space, one voxel. So don't get this wrong, or if you wonder why you can't build somewhere, maybe there's dirt in the way and you can't see it properly. Also, these materials have different looks. You can see dirt has always a grass on it, so you can use this to your advantage. Then we have sand and stone, and some more soil types, but I will show you this later. So now we know voxels. What else is important? Well, there are some tools on the bottom, which you can see on the left side. This is the terrain. And the terrain tools are massively important, because before you build, you have to prepare your terrain so you have enough space, or you add terrain later on to meld your building into the environment, which is really important and a big part of building. The castle, which is up there on the hill, was not fitting on this hill or this mountain in this case, so I had to adjust and put a lot of stones and rocks on the side so it fits and looks good. So terrain tools are a little bit different from voxel tools, because there are different shapes which we don't have on the other tabs. The most important tool for me is this 4x4 cube. This is basically a dirt cube, and I will show you what I mean. I will go over to this side so I don't destroy the terrain here in our tutorial. Also, this whole plane is completely filled with dirt. I did this before I created this title. So let me show. If you right-click, you subtract dirt or material from the terrain. In this case, 4x4. As you can see, there's a small hole now. If you hold the brush, let's say brush or voxel deeper, then you have a deeper hole, of course. And with left click and the material selected, you can fill it. As I use dirt currently, this will fill grass. But if I switch to, let's say, limestone, then you have a limestone. So you can paint different materials into the terrain, which is really important. Okay, what if the terrain is uneven? There are simple and different ways to adjust this. Let's say we have a terrain here, which is open. You want to fill it so it's smooth and looking good. Then you take your tool, depends on what size. You have also other tools down here. We have, for example, this uneven rock type thingy. You could use this, but then you have the problem that different voxels are not equal or not fitting. So we will change this, and to revert an action you can press Z on the keyboard, but only 5 times, keep this in mind. And in this case I would use this plane-like brush, because it's much bigger and you can adjust it for larger areas. And if you have like this step here, then you can do a plane-like addition on half of the height, and then it's smoothing out the voxels. So it's like a slope, but a really smooth slope. This is, I can show you this on this side again, because here we have a lot of uneven things. I put it in here. I use Q and the mouse wheel to adjust the distance. So let's put this in here. And as you can see, it's much smoother now. Or here. And it's even out the terrain. Sometimes you have to fiddle around a bit what you have with this brush and what results you get, but basically this is how you do it. As you can see, slowly but steadily I'm creating a nice slope, so no rocks are looking from the surface. And this is one way to do it. The second way is if you completely messed up an area. Like, let me show you. I will create some different holes over here. Let's say you have built also a main arrow, which is done if you use these blocks, and you place it in the ground as foundation for your house, and then you remove it, and suddenly you have big holes inside your terrain. This is really nasty, and you can have a hard time to remove this. Of course you can do set, but as I said, you only have 5 tries. So basically you have these holes and now you have to cover it up. Okay, let me show you how I would do it. First of all, I go back into the terrain brush. There's also a bigger one which has 45 angle degree slope. This would work if you want to create like slides or something, but it's not perfect. So in this case I would either use this rounded shape or, as shown before, this rectangle shape. So let's say you have filled most of the holes up, but still there's a lot of uneven holes, etc. inside. Then you'll switch back to your normal tools, which is the rake. And the rake is a great tool to smooth out terrain. It can't build terrain, except for one exception, but you can smooth out things. Make sure you have the right angle, because you can do it vertically, like shown here. Or if you hold R and mouse wheel, then you can switch to different angles. In this case, you want horizontal. So important is to know where you stand, because the height of your level where you stand is the height of the smoothing. And now you just go over the terrain and you can even out all the stuff. As you can see, there is a small message which says ineffective. That means there is a big hole which it can't fill automatically. This is where you have to help out manually, so you can place it again. And as you can see, I also use it to create, if I place like too much on it, then I can also delete it voxel by voxel. This is one, and this is the second plane I just deleted. So with this tool you add or you delete terrain, and depending on which tool you use, it's smoother or more uneven or more rocky or spiky or whatever you would like. Okay, this is the terrain tool and the rake to smooth out terrain. Let me show you one thing. If we place like, let me take rock here. So I make a really uneven surface. Let's use this one. So you have a lot of holes and things. And now we go back to the rake and use it on a vertical, basically surface. So I'm standing here and I'm pointing my white cursor on the most forward part, which is in my direction, and now I'm raking. And as you can see, it's automatically filling up rocks, so a plane appears. So it's basically adding so much material until it's even. Let me show you again on this side. Now in diagonal angle. Okay, it says ineffective. And now you see this overhang. I'm taking the deeper part here. So the overhang should be deleted. And this is one scenario which gets really ugly. I would not recommend doing this. So if you have something like this, you can't get rid of it. It's really, it's the limit of the tool, I would say. So you go back into your terrain forming tools or brushes. And in this case, I would take the 4x4 and delete parts of the rock because it has a flat surface on the side. And one more trick, if you keep standing still and use just Q and your mouse wheel, right click, Q, mouse wheel forward, Q, mouse wheel forward, and so on. Then you can dig absolutely straight tunnels into the rock, which I also use the technique, and you don't have to care about other things. I will show you this if I stand here and I want to have a rock or a pathway in here. I right click, Q, mouse wheel, right click, Q, mouse wheel, right click, and so on. You see, now I have to step a little bit forward. I get my brush back to me and do exactly the same. Okay, and now you have a completely straight hole through the terrain. It's a good technique, and I use it a lot to make all the pathways in and around the castle. Alright, so now we covered some terraforming. Now let's see what kind of materials we have. We have dirt, which is basically grass. And we have stone or rock, which I also showed. But there are also some different materials. For example, we have sand, which looks like this. We have limestone. We have luminous growth, so basically the glowstone, which looks really interesting, and I'm currently using it on another build I'm doing. Then we have the fertilized soil, which is a little bit darker, and the normal soil for farming. This looks also kind of like manure or something. I use it when I build a waste depot. And then we have sandrock. I think it's sandrock. Let me check. Yeah, sandstone. This is. And on the outside here, we have the only placeable pathway or dirt block which is not craftable, but you can collect it from different roads if you mine it. And this is the dirt road block. This is the only road you can build currently, with one exception. You can use existing roads and extend them. This is a trick someone mentioned to me on Steam, and I'm really glad about it, so thank you. And I will show you how this works. So if you have a small village or something and you want to have stone roads, which are not possible right now except you use rock, then you can use your rake tool and you can extend existing roads. This is a really good trick. I will show you this over here. So here we have a road. And as said, I created all this terrain over here. So let me go through this rock and bring this road to the other side. So what you do, you point with your cursor at the existing stone road and you just rake it. Like so. As you can see, I kept raking. I destroyed a little bit of the rock, but I can repair this later on. But now you have your road on the other side. And you just keep doing this. You can extend it, but it's important that you have, at your starting point of raking, that you have some parts of the road. Let me see, here it comes again. Okay. So this works, and it's much more difficult to get another height. So maybe you adjust the angle a little bit, so it goes down a slope or something. Yeah, it works, but it's really difficult, but it's an option. So here you have it. You can extend existing roads, stone roads, or you just use the dirt road. Alright, what else do we have? I was really often asked how I planned the building. As you can see, the castle is pretty big, and if you have a flyby, it's also really big and even bigger as some other POIs in the game. And the only plan I had in mind was I want to build a castle. So I went for like 1 or 2 hours around the landscape and looked for a nice spot until I found this hill. So I climbed on the top and laid out with the terrain tool kind of basic rock plane, and then I began to set up my first rooms. And a lot of people have the mistake or make the mistake that they plan too small up front. One thing which I will also cover later on, but I will mention it here already, I normally build with 2 planes or 2 walls, because you have an outer wall, which you can see from the outside, and you have an inner wall for the inner architecture. For example, you want a wooden wall or wooden furniture, then you can't have just a single stone wall because it wouldn't look good inside. So plan to do double walls. And this already extends the width of the building enormous. So keep that in mind. So if I lay out a building, let's say I want to build a house between all these in this area here, then the first thing I do, I look, is the terrain plain enough? So nothing is sticking out, or I have difficulties later on to alter the terrain. So either I use the rake tool to make it even, or as mentioned before, in this case I would prefer the where is it? Here. The ceiling in this case. And I would lay out a rough pattern where and what I want to build. You can see if I put it 1 voxel down into the ground and place it, then it's also deleting the terrain. And in this case, I only count the plates I'm laying down. So these is 2. 3, 4, and now you can already see it's not even enough. So either you go and delete the terrain on top of your terrain tool, just move forward and keep pressing right mouse button. Okay, now you already have a rough estimate of how wide or how long your building will be. And when I built the title here, I knew I have a pixel width of 154. And since I know that one of these plates is 8, I multiplied it by 8, or divided by 8 in this case. I knew I have to place 19 floors for the length, so I know exactly how long this will be. So basically you do simple math and count the plates you lay down, and this is how you calculate how big your building will become or how much space you need. Okay, let me sleep real quick so we have enough light to continue. I love the small details. In night, the character is sleeping on the side, and as in the morning, he's just chilling and laying on the back. This is how you see if it's night or not. Okay, now we have a first rough thought of how big the building will be. And then, of course, you have to take in mind, will you do a basement or underground building, or will you build upwards? And why is this so important? Right now I have my flame over here, and each flame, if upgraded to level 4, has a build area of 160 by 160 by 160. You can see the red line in the distance at the mountain, and in this distance at the first trees. But remember also in the air and in the ground. So if you want to do a big building, which is, let's say, standing from here to the end, then it would be roughly 80 voxels wide. What you could do is that you place exactly at the border another flame shrine, but then you would waste build space, because the other side, the opposite side, is wasted or not used. What I would do, I would still build here, and then I would place a second flame shrine, but in the middle of my building, so I have enough room around it. In this case I can't do it, because if I would move this one, the game would delete half of my title. So in fact, when I built the title, my shrine was over here, because I knew it would go into this direction for 160 blocks. And then afterwards, because I didn't want it in the way of the time-lapse, I placed it here, exactly in the middle. So this is how you calculate and lay out your planning for bigger buildings or larger stuff, and this is something you have to do upfront before you even begin with the first stone. But let me know if you want to have more input on these topics, or if that's enough. Okay, let's go to basic techniques. I already mentioned that we have different voxel types, like 8 voxels, 4 voxels, and 1 voxel. And also, I didn't mention it, but it's shown here, we have the strange tool, which is the 2x2 voxel. It's a big one. I use it to create 2x2 holes, and sometimes to delete bigger stuff, which needs also be placed precise or on a specific yeah, on a specific point. It's the bigger tools, but it's the biggest one from the small tools, and yeah, this is also available. So it's basically a 2x2 cube. And strangely, it's in the 1 meter category, even though it's bigger. And there's also a terrain cube, also 2x2, which is not down in the terrain section, but up here, which is kind of annoying because we also have the 1 voxel terrain for up here, which is not down here. So I don't know it's on purpose or it's a bug. And then we also have the only voxel for roof tiles, which is up here, which we could also build voxel by voxel, 1 by 1 by 1. So we have different, let me remove this. We have different roof voxels also, which look like this. There are only 6 available right now. Yeah. I'm not sure if someone would use this, but all the roof tiles have different behaviors also. And one behavior is that if you place them above each other, then you get a kind of wooden-like structure. So you could, let's say, make a fence or something, because you could leave a gap like this. And then you simply use the other voxel and some, where is it? Let's say half-timbered block. No, this is not good because it's a bleeding one. What I mean by this, I will explain later. Here, let's take the refined wood block and place it like this. So now you have a fence with a little spike on top. Yeah, this is one way to create different stuff. And in this case, I would use the 2x2 to delete all the things here, because it's not 1 by 1. Also, another important thing I forgot to mention, but as you place your cursor, you see a solid plane. In this case, it's on the bottom, on the ground, but you can also hit voxels from the side. If you have a look, now it's at the bottom, now it's at the side. And it's really important. Sometimes you have to place it on the side to get a proper result. So always look where your plane is looking at. If it's the bottom or if it's the side of another material. Okay, I already mentioned that you can do that you can reverse stuff by using set. And now we will cover a topic which is also important, which is using voxels versus bigger shapes. So what's the point here? If you have a very large building, I would say I used in this castle about 30 to 50,000 stone pieces. And if you have big buildings and you need to alter anything later on, then you have a hard time to delete stuff, because you have only 5 chances to reverse something. So let me go and grab my stone here, regular stone block. What do I mean by this? So if I place a mountain, castle wall, whatever, place it down here, then I can remove it with a right click. As you can see, the same shape is removed which I placed. So if I place big parts, then I can also delete big parts, which is easier and faster. If I take a smaller part, I mean, basically this is the same shape, but if I place 4 different parts, now I have delete 4 1 by 1. Can be an advantage, but it can also be a disadvantage. Also, if you place down shapes which merge inside each other, like so, it's really hard to tell which you just removed. As you can see, So I would prefer not to merge shapes, but in this case to fill the gaps with smaller parts which fit. In this case, the 4x4. So later on, if you want to remove something, you always have the precise cursor to remove stuff. So keep this in mind. Also, another thing you have to take in mind, if you place something and then you alter the current plane with the voxel tool, let's say you make a lot of holes and you change the appearance of the overall shape of something, then after a while, I don't know the threshold, but after a while, you cannot remove this thing any longer. Okay, now it's still working, but sometimes you have the problem that this is not noticed anymore by the game as a big shape. Here it still is. I don't know what it triggers, but sometimes it doesn't work. So in this case, let's say I can't remove this one, then you have to go and take your voxel tools and remove it voxel by voxel, which is really annoying and time consuming. So keep that in mind. Let's see if it's working now. See, now I can't remove it anymore. It's not noticed as a wall segment anymore. It's just simple voxels now. And the game doesn't allow me to change or to remove the whole thing. So I have to remove it one by one. Oh, and this is a perfect example. If I would remove it with this tool right like so, if it's on the top, then I would remove also, because it's too high, the one voxel under it, like so. See, I deleted the wrong one. So if you want just delete these two, then go from the side, like this solid plane like here. And now we delete in this direction and not downwards. So let me remove this and do it properly on the side. This is what I mean with the direction of the voxel tool. Alright. Another thing is the grid snapping. I already mentioned it in the basic technique, but I have placed down some measurements here. As you can see, 8 by 8. It's the global snapping, and it's always snapping on times 4 by a value of 4, as you can see. This is the global grid. No matter what you do, it's always 4 by 4. So if you place down a part here, it fits exactly into the global grid. But you also have the unsnapping option, which is seen on the bottom right, which is X. And then have a look at the cursor. If you are not in global snap mode, then your cursor has just this little point, white dot, and not the blue rectangle. You can see it. If I turn it on, it snaps, and if I turn it off, it's basically free placement. And this has one exception. So let's go to the smaller stairs in freestyle mode. So I place it mid-air. And now it's really difficult to place it because you can't see, you don't have an ego perspective. And if I turn now on the global snapping, the stair will snap to the currently placed. You see? Okay, so it doesn't work with walls, but with staircases. And this is really cool. So basically the freestyle staircase is now the new global snapping point for other parts I would add. It's not working all the time, but most of the time, as you can see here. So keep in mind, freestyle versus global grid. Okay, let's quickly remove this. And what else do we have? I normally use the freestyle options because sometimes you have to place stuff in exactly one corner or something. Let me show you what I used in the castle build a lot, which were arches. So let me place this here. And let's say we have a corner in the castle with a ceiling. like so. And I want to decorate the corner of the ceiling with different elements. Then I used, for example, this shape, so the inverted stair shape. And if I use global snapping, it doesn't work because it's inside the wall. So I turn on freestyle. I use Q and mouse wheel to adjust the distance. And a strange thing about this mode, you can only place it like, I would say 8 to 10 pixels or voxels up front, but you can place like double the time in the height. So we have much higher reach to the height than in front. I don't know why, but yeah, it is what it is. So you don't need scaffolding or something all the time. If you have just two walls on top of each other, then it should work. Okay, so here I just could adjust the placement with my view and Q and mouse wheel. Or you can go to maximum distance and then you just step a little forward or backward to place it. I will do this here. So now we have this arc-like detail, the corner, and make sure not to, if you place it like so, you have one more pixel to the right, which is the wrong way. You have to place it evenly so it doesn't look weird later on. So you have to place it like one in the corner. Like so. Now it's even and fits. Since we are already on this, I was asked how I created all these torches and things on the wall. This is done with the fancy stone. Where is it? Here it is. The fancy stone has the unique ability to create... Oh no, not the fancy stone, sorry. The polished stone, I mean. Refined stone block is it. Has the unique ability to blend the edges and always create this ornament-like top. So if you place another one, it's up there. But you can use this to your advantage. Let's say you want like an ornament, a detail on your walls. I have the normal stone here. So now I take a... What is it? Yeah, just a line. And let's go to the voxel tool and delete some of those stones in a row. Now I take the other tool with the refined stone and I place it in the middle. And then, because of the behavior of the stone, it's just placed as it would be on the top row, but because it's just one row. And this is how you add details, by mixing up different materials. And these materials is something I call bleeding into each other. I have built some examples over here. And let me show you the difference if I use normal stone. Or let's say we have the metal here. You see, this is the bronze metal. It's completely straight. It has no outward shapes. It even hasn't a connection to the floor, which is also really strange. This is the metal surface, this one, metal block. And this is the iron block. And the iron block, as you can see on the floor, has kind of this connection to the floor. The other two metal blocks don't have this. So if you really want as crisp and clear lines, then you should use these both. And if you want a connection to the floor, then you should use the iron one, which is also more detailed. And these are not bleeding into each other or blending into each other. And these blocks here all blend. What do I mean by this? As you can see, let me delete this one here, which is the tarred wood. We have the fancy stone, which has wood on the top and at the bottom. So if I use this one, where is it? Oh, come on. Here, fancy stone block. If I place this one next to another block, then you see it looks wider than it actually is. You have this wood on the right, which is basically the end. And it appears wider than it actually is. The same happens for all the other blocks here. Let me take the... where is it? Tarred wood block. This one. See? It's just 4 wide, but now it appears 6 wide. So it's adding more details, but not actual voxels. It's just from the looks. And an extreme example is the desert city wall. And this is, I will go back there and show you. This is the only block here, which you can see these yellow lines. This is all desert city blocks. If I remove this one, I can show you. Where's the voxel tool? Here. So if I remove this one, see? It's just one voxel, but it appears to be 3 wide because one voxel, 1, 2, 3. But actually it's just 1. Let me show you. I place it down again. Here is it, desert temple block. Place it down here. Also, it has the unique feature of adding these pillars between. Let's head back over there. So if I place another down here, you can see it's extending, and if I go upwards, it's creating pillar-like structures. So this is what I mean by blending or bleeding of the voxels into each other. And if you place it next to another one, it can force it to look different. So this happens for the fancy stone, for the desert city wall, for the tarred wood block, for the rough wood, and also for the half timbered, what is it called? Half timbered block, this one, which is also wider than it is. See? And also for the, what is this called? Mycelium overgrown block, this one. It has all the mushrooms on it, and if you place like small details, it's even further and bigger, and yeah. Can look good, but also it can ruin some looks if you don't keep this in mind. Okay, this is the use of materials if you overlap it. And let me show you one more thing. Let's say you have windows. Well, let's take the half windows over here. Let me place down some of these as stone. Regular stone block, okay. And as mentioned before, use big shapes as much as possible to make your life easier. But now you could use, let's say, where's the metal? A metal block. Let's take the iron block. And now I use the half wall and place it inside of the other shape. So it's completely blending the open parts in with the metal block. And the good thing is, if you look at the material usage, if I place a half wall, it would take 32 iron to place this wall. If I place, let me remove this, it in here, then it only takes 6, because only 6 blocks are covered. So you always have the difference, and you don't need to care about that you waste material, because the game already counts properly. And this is also important to know, because I think a lot of people use smaller shapes because they think they would waste material, which isn't the case in this. So placing down this here only used up 6 metal, or iron in this case. Another method I want to show you to blend in things and to add details. Let's go over here where I prepared something. These are all, let's say, outside wall blocks. Now we have the rough stone, we have the rough cut stone, which is a little bit different than the regular stone. As you can see, it looks more weathered. I think it's also called weathered stone, I'm not sure. Let me see. Refined stone. Rough stone block? No, this is this one. Oh, it's a roughly cut stone block. This is the name. This one. It's basically exactly the same than the regular one, but it looks more weathered. And then we have the normal one. Then we have the fancy stone and the polished stone with the unique behaviors. Then we have the, what is it, city stone wall, which looks kind of sandy between the lines. Where is it? I have too much stone in my inventory. Here, city wall block. This is the one. So I would use this for outside. But then you have the very unique castle wall stone block, which is this one. It looks almost the same, but this one is darker. But this one has a unique feature I will show you next. Okay, this is the overgrown city block. This is the desert city block, and this is just the half timbered. Okay, let's have a look at this block. If I take a terrain tool, let's say 1 pixel, which is up here, and now I take dirt, the magic happens. I place just 1 voxel down here, and now I place a second one, and a third one. And as you can see, just out of nowhere, some vines appeared. And this can be repeated. And this is the only block where this happens. I tried it with all. And as you can see, there's a small corner. When you place at least 1 or 3 things, then you have some vines or stuff growing out of this wall, which is really cool. This also works on the other shapes. See? But I can't tell how the shape is behaving. Yeah, on top this is just grass, because it's the dirt block. But if you place it on the side of the city wall, you have this behavior of of some leaves which are up here. Really cool thing, but I'm not sure if it's on purpose or it's a bug, or I don't know. I would love to have more vegetation options on the walls, but in this case this is one thing I noticed when I was building the castle. So let's delete the dirt blocks over here and leave this one. And also it appears that it's only working on the ground level, so if it's connected to the ground. If you place it higher up, then it doesn't work. Oh, I deleted something? Yeah. Okay. So another nice little trick, I think. And let's see what we have next on our list. So material usage. And yeah, to get more details or more depth to your buildings, let me go back to this big wall over here. So the dark one, and let's say, oops, let's say this is the outside of your castle. Then it looks really straight, really boring and not appealing. Oh yeah, okay. So this is something you could do. So it breaks up the wall from the bottom. You could also use the terrain tool and just add more, let's say we take the big rock here, rotate it a little and go up. Then you could use like a rocky structure to make it look more natural, like so. But also make sure you clean up the inside of your castle again, because then you would have also dirt on the inside, because all the brush tools are additive, so where space in the bag, then it will fill also the terrain. So this is one way to break it up a little, like so. Now you can see, now it's growing vines up here because I have enough dirt on the inside, outside. So let's delete this. Yeah, this works. Okay, and another feature which you could use is just replacing single voxels or even delete them. But keep in mind, if you delete something, you have a hole in the wall and you have to place maybe another wall in the back. I already mentioned that I would recommend you to use double walls all the time, especially if you have another interior. So let's say you have a nice room inside, then you should, let's take the refined wood block, for example. Let's say you have this inside your wall. Then it doesn't matter what you do with the outside wall, because you have still a second layer on the inside. So let me go in here and delete some of these voxels. And as you can see, even one or two holes here make a difference. Okay, there's no wall, but you see what I mean. This loosens up the straight appearance and gives much more depth to the overall shape and look. I also use this technique to create some of these nice little towers which I have on top. So in this case I use the fancy stone, and in this case the 2x2 pillar, which is over here. And let me grab the fancy stone here. Here it is. So let's place this down on the global grid. And in this case I will place 4 of them, 2x2. Now we have, let's say this is the tower, and now I grab my voxel tool and I just delete 2 of these, and due to the unique behavior of the fancy stone, that it adds like wood, now you have a little window. without adding wood actually. And I also kept doing this by deleting until I was on the other side. As you can see now, there's a hole inside. And then I placed a little candle in it, so it's also lighted in the dark, and you have this nice shiny appearance. So if you have too many holes in your wall, then you also could add just another material to blend in the stuff. And in this case, let me grab, this was the castle wall, now let's take the city wall. Or you could use any other material, like for example the missile wood, which shroud wood block, which is also kind of gray. And as you can see, it's filling the gaps, but keeps the overall color appearance like grayish dark. This is also a possibility. Let me grab a smaller one here, like so. This is also a possibility. Okay, let me remove this one. This was the wrong one, okay. Oh, okay, it's not possible because it already is voxel based. So let's delete some others and let's grab another stone. For example, the well block, which is also a dark stone. I need the bigger one. Oh, add, not delete. And the well block has also this bleeding feature, so you can see I added voxels, but they kind of push out the look. So this is another way to add more depth to your flat walls. Yeah, here I think I have shown enough examples. So this is how you loosen up your appearance of outer walls to make it more interesting. And to cover the inside, I would always prefer and recommend that you use a second layer. If you want to see more specifics about certain types of my castle build, then please leave a like, a comment, and I will be glad to show it in the next tutorial video. Okay. This is material mixing, blending, and double walls. And now let me go to another topic, which is the use of scaffoldings. I have some in my inventory here, and as you can see in the video and also in the screenshots of the progress, I use scaffoldings, for example when I build the roof, but later on I completely scrap them, because they have advantages and disadvantages. Let me show you. First of all, scaffoldings are pretty cheap to create and they look good. It's a good idea. If you place them, use always the freestyle mode, because as you can see here, the global grid is really restricting. So place it, and then you can basically just climb the ladder and you are higher up to create stuff on the top. What a lot of people don't know, you can actually stack them. So look upwards, use now the global grid, and as you can see, oh, Q and mouse wheel doesn't work, but as you can see, you can now stack them upwards. You have to jump a little. This is now number 3, and the ladder connects actually. You can now move upwards all the way. If you want to go to the middle, just jump off and you are here. So this works. This is a good way to have really high ways to climb up actually. But here's the big but. If I place the smaller ones, they can be placed in freestyle mode also, and you can reach places. But if you want to remove them, they take their time. So if I want to remove it, I need to hold E for several seconds, so it's deconstructing the stuff. On the other hand, if I use just my building tool, go into, let's say, stairs over here, place the first stair down here, and as shown with the global grid, I can just quickly run. This was like 1 second, and I'm on the same height to build. If I want to level it up, then I also can place down a floor, and that's it. And to remove it, I just have to right click. It's so much quicker, and this is why I always prefer this use of scaffoldings than actual scaffoldings. Also, let's say you have, like, here's the shroud, there's a big gap and you don't want to fall down. Just take a different material so you can see, and place down platforms like safety net so you actually don't fall off a cliff or something. Okay, make sure there are no gaps, would be bad. And now you can just build on this side without falling down here in the abyss. And if you would use scaffoldings, they are much smaller. They are much, yeah, I don't know. It's not thought well through. It's lacking something. It would be cool if you could create scaffoldings out of thin air with your magic mana or something, but instantly placed and not, yeah. Oh, and this is another thing, you can't build in the shroud. I tried it, I tested it, it's not possible. And also this is the end of my build area, as you can see. This is half or 1 block outside of the build area, so if I go 1 block in, like so, now it's possible. Okay, but let me remove this here real quick. As you can see, it's so simple, it's just right-clicking and we are done. So, if you ask me, I would recommend using this method to get up to your builds and do stuff, because with the global grid snapping on, you can traverse really quick and get into heights which are not possible with normal scaffolding or only under different circumstances. I mean, currently we don't have physics in the game. I don't know if they add this later, then scaffolding maybe become viable, but right now it's much easier to use this method. Okay. Now let me show you one more thing. During building, I also used a lot these grappling hooks. Let me show you this real quick. If I place them like so, you can quickly traverse over heights. So if you have different levels, you can also use this method, and without stairs, to go from one place to another, because you're always instantly on the spot. This is really cool. But you have to place it one time and then it's working. Another great way to go around in your buildings. So, if you want to have these fancy looking railings, then you use the polished stone. Where is it? Refined stone block. And in this case, the 3x1 column. This one. So if you place it down, the top part will always become this pillar look. And this is how you can cover up some torches. So if I place down a torch, these standing torches here, then you place one of these pillars on top and it's completely covered. And again, my textures are not loading. This is really annoying, this bug. Okay, now we have this torch. If you have walls, especially stone walls, then you can use the wall torches, which work almost the same. But there's a little trick to place it, because if you go in here, you use 1 voxel, and you want to place it, it's red, you can't place it. But if you go from the side, there's just like 1 millimeter of where you can point at and then place it. And you have these fancy looking stone torches. Now for the rails or walls, it's not working in global mode, but if you use the freestyle mode, you can actually push the column into the ground by 1, so it's 1 deeper, and then you leave a gap of 1, and again, and then you take your 1 voxel tool and place 1 between. Now you have a nice flat surface. Could also be a table or something, but this is the fancy look I created at the staircases. And also on the stairs I left a gap of 1 and then filled it out. You could also do it on the bottom, like so. So in the middle. But it doesn't look as good as before. Or you can use a different material. As long as the material is something like this, for example the fancy stone, it also works. Oh, let's use the fancy stone. Where is it again? Well, let's use the half timbered block first. So let's grab the pillar. 2 by 2. And now 1 voxel to smooth it out. Works also. Another one is also the well block, which is really cool in its behavior. There it is. So let's grab the pillar. Let's make it 2 wide in this case. And now let's place the voxels. This has this Mediterranean or medieval style look. Really cool. And if I place it in the middle, it's also this shape. Yeah, really cool stuff. It has so much detail in it, I wouldn't count it as 1 voxel. Let's grab the fancy stone. Yeah, this is the right one. Okay, let's place the stone here. 1 gap between. As you can see, this is basically the mixture of wood and stone. And voxel. Now you have a wooden top and a stone pillar. Also works on the middle. And this is what, when I used it the first time, I thought I had the wrong material, because fancy stone, if I remove this and place it in here, is wooden actually on the top, which was irritating at first, but then I noticed, okay, it's like covered in wood. But there you have a different wood pattern, and just in case you didn't know that, you can use this also for your flooring. So these are a lot of examples I used, and as said before, if you want to know more, just leave a comment and I will gladly cover it up, the topic. There was one more thing which I tried, which was a problem when I use, let me see. Yeah, let's use regular stone. Or let's say rough stone. This is the beginner's material, so this was a problem with this especially. I think, yeah. So if I place down a normal stone window, and you can see it's a rectangle shape for the window. But sometimes the shape... Oh, it is still the case. Okay, it's not fixed. I thought it was a bug. Now you can see this window is arced. As you can see, there's a little arc inside. This is rectangle, this is arced. This is because of the voxel grid system. If I place down another one next here, it's also arced. If I place down the next one here, it's rectangle again. And this is also the explanation. The shape of the window is determined by the layer of the voxel grid. If it's even, then it's a rectangle, and if it's uneven, then it's an arc. So you can only, right now, you can only fix this by moving your windows, or the plane of your windows, one forward or back. It's weird, but it is what it is, and it also works in the Y direction. Rectangle, arced. See? So you can't do anything about it, you just have to hit the right even or uneven grid number. The only workaround is to place it one more line back or up front. So I don't know if it's a bug or it's on purpose. I don't know if it will be fixed in the future, but with the rough stone, it works like this. Other materials don't have this problem. I used it on, I think, regular stone. Let me see here, refined stone block. It's rectangle. Yeah, in both cases rectangle. And let's see, fancy stone. It's naturally arced, I guess, by this wooden stuff, but if I go one back, yeah, it's looking exactly the same, so this is also not a problem. Let's see, Desert Temple Wall. It's with the pillar. Let's go one back. Oh, also not a problem. I think timbered is also not a problem, but you get what I mean. It's just for the windows. Yeah. So here you have it. It's working for most of the windows, but for rough stone, which is the beginner material, literally, then you might wonder why your windows appear different. This is why and how you solve it. Okay. This is it for the first iteration. We are now 1.5 hours in to the tutorial. I will cut it later on. Also make sure to check out my other videos. If you didn't, I would be happy about your support on my channel. And if you have questions, leave a comment and a like, and I will answer your questions directly in the comments or within the next video. So, covered a lot of ground for building and stuff today, so thank you for watching and see you in the next one. Bye bye.